Well, the closing arguments in the Casey Anthony trial taking place this morning at 9 a.m. You can catch it right here on Fox News Channel. But what does each side need to say? Joining us from Orlando this morning is criminal defense attorney Lawrence Walters with his perspective on all this. Lawrence, nice to see you this morning.
Good morning, Clayton.
What does the defense need to do to try to protect Casey Anthony from getting the death penalty this morning?
Well, this is a circumstantial evidence case, and in Florida, in these kinds of cases, the state has the obligation to disprove what's called any reasonable hypothesis of innocence. And that's why the defense threw out this issue in the opening statements of the drowning in the family pool, so that the state would have to come forward with evidence saying that that didn't happen. The defense, I believe, is going to have a relatively easy time in defeating the premeditated murder case. I don't think this should have ever been a death penalty case. There's no direct evidence of premeditated murder, and the state utterly failed to prove that. So the defense has to hammer on reasonable doubt, reasonable doubt. There is no evidence of premeditated murder.
Well, you're a defense attorney sitting back. You've been watching this whole thing unfold. It seems like the defense has done a pretty darn good job of muddying the waters here. Are they trying to just place that doubt in those jurors' minds that they don't know what the true outcome of this will be?
Anytime you defend a person accused of a crime as a criminal defense lawyer, reasonable doubt is your weapon of choice in the closing argument. And that will be repeated over and over again by Jose Baez, that the state has failed to establish premeditation, that there is all kinds of doubt as to what actually happened. And frankly, this should never have been a death penalty case. Now, there are these other charges that that Casey could be convicted of, including aggravated child abuse or aggravated manslaughter, and that's a more likely outcome.
It's completely different, though, Lawrence, right from the beginning of this thing, as you laid out, in the sexual abuse, all of the things we heard in the opening statements from the defense. It seems like it's completely shifted now. How do they go back to those same jurors and say, hey, you know what? We told you in the opening statements, things have changed a bit now over the past few weeks, so we have a different tactic here.
Yeah, they're going to need to do some tap dancing in the closing arguments, because you've got a court order out there that limits what both sides can say in the closing argument. And we're not going to hear much about the sexual abuse and that kind of thing because of, frankly, the failure to establish that and the failure to have any evidence of it. So, you know, we're going to hear a little bit different tactic. I suspect that we're going to get a conviction ultimately on some lesser charge like aggravated child abuse and lying to police officers. I think it was a mistake to include those misdemeanor charges, because that really diverts the jury's attention. But premeditated murder, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I think that seems to be the consensus we've been hearing from a number of legal experts, yourself included. Lawrence Walters from Orlando this morning. I know you'll be keeping a close eye on it. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Happy to be here.